Okay, so this didn't really go over so well. Enter Rey, played by Daisy Ridley, who's supposed to be the face of the Star Wars sequel trilogy, but wasn't really that well received by fans, where a lot of people hated her character's origin. But what's really weird about it is Disney and Star Wars originally had a completely different plan they got rid of, and I think that was a very dumb decision. The character that became Rey was originally conceived by George Lucas in his early notes for a Star Wars sequel trilogy, where he wanted to do a female main character, and originally it was going to be a 14-year-old girl named Taryn. What made the character of Taryn unique was George Lucas didn't want to follow the Star Wars extended universe in the comics, but wanted to do his own original thing for the sequel trilogy, and also not have this character attached to the Skywalker family or any other family previously done anything Star Wars related, but instead be somebody who was just blessed with the power of the Force, and we would see a trilogy having her learn how to become a master over a period of 3 movies. But money, because eventually George Lucas decided he wasn't going to lead the sequel trilogy himself, but instead decided to sell to Disney for $4 billion, so they took his plans and took his notes, but really decided to add their own swing on it, aka ruin it completely. Disney brought in J.J. Abrams instead to make the movie Episode 7, and the first thing they wanted to do was change the character's name, where they didn't like the name Taryn, thinking it was going to be too hard for people to pronounce, so they considered a lot of different names, where Sally was actually mentioned for a while, Kira was mentioned, and they also even had the name Winky in the mix, but that got taken down. And they almost went with Kira to the point that Daisy Ridley thought her character was going to be called out when she signed on. They eventually changed it to Rey, because in Spanish, Rey means king and also means destined for greatness, and also at the same time, they just thought it was a short name that everyone could say. The name Rey was picked, but then after that, J.J. Abrams actually agreed with George Lucas under this idea that the character of Rey shouldn't have any origin, but just be someone randomly gifted with the Force, which was important to show that this world wasn't about dynasties or bloodlines, but it was just about who has the gift. There was the problem that J.J. Abrams really just didn't have that much power in Star Wars, where he was the director of Episode 7, but he couldn't make any decisions to decide the franchise's future, with one big example being Snoke, where he couldn't actually pick that character's design, origin, or even gender, which was all decided by Disney in post-production, and another was actually Rey, where Kathleen Kennedy gave him the order to leave Rey's origin a mystery in case they wanted to change that down the line. Down the line happened with Star Wars Episode 8, and enter Rian Johnson, who decided to make the twist to Rey's origin is that she really was nobody, and have that be the story that sticks. But when it came to making Star Wars Episode 9 and the return of J.J. Abrams, Kathleen Kennedy felt the story was flat and needed some sort of big plot twist like Luke, I am your father, so they were actually deciding at that point to give Rey a real origin. J.J. Abrams originally came up with for Episode 9 was Daisy Ridley's Rey would be the granddaughter of Obi-Wan Kenobi. I'll say I just think that makes no sense at all, because Obi-Wan is supposed to be the perfect Jedi. It would make no sense that he betrayed the Jedi Order to have a kid. Also, I just think having Ewan McGregor return as Obi-Wan is a little bit of a betrayal to Alec Guinness. But Kathleen Kennedy threw that idea out, but not for good reasons, instead saying that she just didn't think kids would connect to Obi-Wan. Instead, Kathleen Kennedy last minute had the idea to change the origin for Rey to be Palpatine's granddaughter instead. There was actually an idea here, because in the comics, Palpatine does have clones of himself. So I think what would have been cool is if Rey was a failed Palpatine clone like this story in Danny Phantom, and that would explain her powers. But they didn't do that, and with that, I'm Charles Pearl. Subscribe, learn something.